So probably just bring it back into the Lean In Circle programme. Just before I introduce Jeanette, it's probably just to run down for those, just whenever I was going around before we started, quite a lot of people that are new to Lean In. So I suppose just with the circle, it's either within the Belfast chapter we've about 27 different circles. So some of them are sector orientated, and then some of them are more location orientated. But no matter what happens, there's 3 circle fundamentals. So the first one is confidentiality. So basically what happens in the circle stays in the circle. And so within each circle, there's just a really strong element of trust. The second thing is then communication. So everyone feels free that they can speak up and talk about anything they want to there. And then the third thing is, and the key thing is that everyone in the circle is committed to the circle, so that everyone is, it's not just 1 or 2 people in a group of 20, that everyone is really committed to the circle. So I'm just going to hand over to Jeanette and Joe from the Northern Ard Circle. So they've just set up their baby circle, so they're going to bring us through their whirlwind tour, whistle-top tour of how they set that up.
To sit up
No,
I've heard enough doing that in the bar without doing it on stage.
Okay, I'm Jeanette Sherman. I'm one of the founders of the Ards North Down Circle. This is my colleague Jo Watson that doesn't like sitting on stools, and our other colleague Nancy Brown unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. But I suppose what we're here to do today is we've set the circle up. We had our first meeting last week, so we're really nervous. But really we're just here to share some of the experiences, the positives and the negatives, and just to share with you some of the outputs from our first attempt at a circle. So I'm going to hand it over to Jo. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah, and I'll have to stand up again. I'm going to okay, it's probably good just to give you a little bit of background as to where I'm coming from and why did we suddenly, as 3 women, decide that we were going to start our own circle. And this is Newland, you might want to cover your ears. I had joined the Belfast Entrepreneurs Circle, and I was looking at that time, I was going through a process of change from taking a year's full-time employment as head of region for the NSVCC and secretly going, I want to be self-employed, I want to be self-employed. So I had a year of planning. So I joined lots of networks and did lots of things on the outskirts of it, and did lots of watching through Facebook and different things, and joining in with lots of likes and lots of comments. Did I actually turn up at meetings and play my part? No, not so much. So Jeanette and Nancy and I have all overlapped with work circles through academia and lots of different ways. And they had been living embodiments for me of women that leaned in, and likewise I was consciously making an effort to lean in for them. And I decided enough looking from the edges, it was time to actually step forward and create the kind of life and circumstances that we wanted to see for ourselves. And the big challenge, even though my son is 22, so I can't really use that card very much, but the challenge for all of us as women is being time poor. So for our point of view, we wanted to see how do we create the support circle that we love from afar and see lots of others doing in Belfast, and how do we create that for ourselves. So hence the kitchen table conversation, and we didn't with any wine. And we sat down and said, right, this is our opportunity to create a circle from scratch. So,
Did we not have wine?
no we didn't, I remember. The cars were in the driveway, I remember.
I cooked a nice Thai chicken.
You did, it was very good. It was kind of hot, it was very good. It needed wine. But from that point of view, we hadn't been heavily involved. So anybody here, and I'll not make you do the show of hands, but anybody here that hasn't been to a circle, or maybe has been to 1 or 2, and is thinking about it, there is absolutely nothing to stop you from grasping the opportunity to have your own circle, because if the 3 of us can do it in a kitchen table without wine and make it live within 4 weeks, then anyone can.
Yeah.
So,
sort of the output from the evening without wine.
sorry, I thought you were.
No, you did that bit.
So we did, you can tell there's no wine, we created a vision that slightly went on a little bit. It's not maybe as short and sweet, but it was too important to us to leave any of that out. So I don't know it all by heart, and no, we haven't tattooed it anywhere yet. It's a bit long. But it was very important to us. It was about the empowering, and sometimes that's an overused word. It's a bit like partnerships that appears everywhere. but it's just as valid and just as true. Because empowering you can be about making decisions to change your life circumstance. It can be as simple as just looking for reassurance about a work issue. So empowerment is a big scale. We also wanted to share passion with others in terms of leadership opportunities, but also for life. Because, as we all know, there's lots of different things that get in the way, that sometimes you can concentrate on some of the difficult things. And actually, a life without passion is just too dull. And whether that passion's for wine or whatever,
Or
for
for
work.
love, for after Saturday. It's all about love.
And fellow women, it's great. Also about your resolve. Emotional resilience is another one that comes up a lot in terms of women seeking to grow their own internal support base, but also to support others. So it was important to us that it is about keeping each other accountable. And resolve isn't always about there. Resolve can be, look, you said you wanted it. This is your chance. Go for it. So resolve works both ways. We absolutely wanted a sense of purpose, and that's part of holding ourselves accountable and the others in the circle. And what was interesting for me, some of the best opportunities, particularly with education and other things, is when you're in a group of people you didn't choose. So often in life, whether it's a form of protection or what it is, you naturally gravitate towards people that you think are going to give you the answers and the information you need. And actually the best opportunities come from people that just tell you how it is, because they don't have that emotional side. And particularly if you're doing your own business, that's lethal, because you ask people that are close to you and you go, of course it's a great idea, and then you're suddenly out in the wilderness as the tumbleweed goes past and going, why is nobody ringing the phone? So it's really important that that purpose is there with peer support, and then self-care, because we all know what it's like to keep on giving out of the bucket and then realise and look down and go, actually there's nothing left for me. So all those things were too important to us to leave out, so hence the slightly stretched vision.
And what we wanted to do actually was take that and practice what we preached when we went into the circle. I suppose my why was that I've just completed some research with Nancy on female entrepreneurship. My role at the moment is Ulster University Business School, and I teach leadership, but I have a special passion around women leadership and also women entrepreneurship. And the resounding amount of people that we talked to talked about these same things: having no time, not having self-confidence. It was just absolutely quite astounding. And we put our heads together and thought, well, you know what, we've done this bit of research, how can we help just a little bit in terms of some of the very inspirational women that I found in my local area in North Down and Ards. So we came up with this idea of a circle. I've recently joined the leadership team with the Belfast team, so I've got a very high barrier to jump over. So we wanted to have something that was a wee bit different. I had endless volunteers to host, but the one that hosted the first was actually my physio, because whenever I'm in there getting my physio, I'm always trying to tell her how to run a business. So she said to me that, you know, I need to get into a network of people that are more business-like, because she has a network of physios. So it's the same conversation all the time. So she says, let me host it. So I said, absolutely fine, which was fantastic. We obviously talked about the self-care. So what we did was Pilates. We did 10 minutes Pilates at the beginning of the circle, and we did 10 minutes Pilates at the end, and that went down an absolute storm, I have to say. We were delighted within a week. We had 36 people sign up. Some of them are new, some of them are complete and utterly new to us. We're going to have a rolling host, if you like, because we don't want it to become stale. We want it to be quite innovative and creative. So already we've got a line of people saying, we'll host it. And I'll talk to you a little bit later on about the next meeting, which is in June. So on the first night, we had 13 attendees come along, all shapes and sizes, different age groups, backgrounds, self-employed. The one thing we noticed that every single woman, without exception, was at a transitional stage in their life for one way or another, whether it was a business or a personal, and needed some sort of a support mechanism to help them to make maybe some decisions. I have to say, the kick-off guide that you get from Lean In is brilliant. We didn't go off piece at all. We stuck to the script. It worked absolutely perfect, and we actually finished on time, which is an absolute miracle for Joe and I, because we've worked together for a long. And Nancy. Nancy's from New York, and you think we can talk, then you meet Nancy. So we
She
were.
can dance.
She can dance and I can dance too. So we were really pleased. What we also found that there was a common purpose. We had a real long discussion about why people were there. Following the brief that's up there on Lean In, the templates are brilliant, so don't feel worried that you think, gosh, the first time we do this. We actually followed the agenda to the script, didn't we? And we
It's not like us. And
which is not like us. So we looked at the common purpose. The resounding reason when we asked the question why you're here was because it was in Arden North Down location. Everybody worked in Belfast and far afield and felt it was fantastic that they could go home and actually come somewhere local to do a networking event. So that really worked well. And we discussed the values, we discussed in terms of what do we want from this particular circles, how often do we want to meet. There was some fantastic, one session now we're all bringing our dogs. We found that everybody in the room by one had a dog. And when we talked about values, and what they wanted to do going forward, this is what started the conversation. She put a notelet up and said she wanted a dog. So then all 11 of us, or 12 of us stood up and said, well, we've all got dogs, so now we're going to do a dog walk. There was book clubs mentioned. Everybody was really very giving in terms of what they wanted to do. The values activity was really interesting because it fell into 3 particular themes. Personal development, there was a real yearning that everybody wanted to learn from each other. Everybody had different things to bring to the circle, and we've come to the conclusion that we'll all take our turns in terms of sharing what expertise and what we've got. The other value that came through was very much about business development, about creating opportunities. There was a lot talked about imposter syndrome, not having self-confidence, not able to do marketing and digital. So we ascertained very quickly there was a lot of expertise in the room. So again, we decided that what we would do is we would share, we would take turns to have a theme. I think the next theme is the imposter syndrome. And then it was absolutely unanimous that we wanted this health and well-being, and they loved the Pilates. So poor old Susie, the physio now, is going to be coming to every Lean In circle and doing a bit of Pilates with us. Over to you.
So, and again, apologies if half the room have been doing circles for a long time and could get up and teach us whippersnappers a thing or two. But from fresh eyes, the IT platform is super clunky, and I love new technology and grab things quickly. Anything rather than doing jobs around the house, I will sit and build platforms, build websites, do all that. Is really clunky. And it was difficult because what happens is the temptation is to take the communication off and do it either through a closed Facebook group or WhatsApp group. And I think that's a shame because the library function is really important, and I've made a commitment to put new material up to the library function and keep it relevant and interesting and changing. So I don't know, there may be other things happening around the IT, but I think that was a shame because the materials, the branding, the messaging is fabulous. So it could be that I just need an extra bit of guidance to navigate around the Lean In platform, but I find it clunky. Any more than 12, there's a very good reason. We kept reading, don't make your circles too big, don't make your circles too big, and we're thinking, we've got 36. So I think the reality is they're so right in that 12 was as much as you needed to get around the room. Otherwise there was so much sharing that everybody lost themselves coming back around again. So that was definitely true. And also for us, there'll probably be a 1/3 rule. You'll have 36 on, a third will come, and a third can't come, and a third will lurk like I used to. So I mean, I won't judge the lurkers. It definitely is contagious, and again, if we're preaching to the converted, apologies, because we're like, oh, we just found this, and it's really great, and it's really exciting. And there was definitely some side conversations where people wanted it for younger women, particularly sort of secondary school age. But again, that's where we're very clear and say, like, absolutely, go off, do it for yourself. If that's the right thing for them, this is not about us doing it. And some of the people have been involved in setting up circles in Belfast, and were adamant that they weren't taking on a leadership role in this circle. And I admire that because they were right to come and say, like, it's not the right time for me. I need to receive from the circle, I don't need to lead it. And continuous learning, so we're up for lots of ideas, and we'll steal lots of good ideas with a smile, because everybody's been before and has done different things.
Yeah, I think 2 of them have also volunteered to do a Facebook page so that we can share stuff in the interim until Jo gets her IT sorted. I'm a bit of a laggard when it comes to that, but it doesn't notify you. We've put stuff up that's relevant, but it doesn't notify you that the stuff's up there. So it might, like you say, it might be just that
think there's something around it with which email address you're signing in on, and then people get confused. They sign on one on the phone and one on the tablet.
Yeah, okay, just then going forward, plenty of updates and keep in touch. That was the one message that came from everybody. Everybody was very, very busy one way or another, but they were really enthused about being kept in contact, and hence that was why two of them volunteered to do this Facebook group and keep us in contact in terms of what's going on. So we're currently at the stage where we're trying to establish a communication that works. So we're going to try Facebook, see how we get on with that, but we'll keep you posted. One of the things I said earlier on is that we're trying to try new things, and the next person that's hosting is Marianne Kennelly. She's based in Bangor, she's an artist, and she runs an art studio in Bangor, and I've been working with Marianne. She comes and does a few bits and bobs with me on creativity and innovation with the students. So she's going to host it, and we have this thing called Messy Managers. So instead of, they're going to do a bit of Pilates, and then we're going to put gowns on them and give them paints and sponges and paintbrushes. And rather than just sit and do nothing, we're going to paint and think about things and be creative around the next meeting, which will be really exciting. And I think the most important thing, yes, it's important, it's business, but have fun. You know, we were laughing till the tears were running down our faces, but there was a very serious message there as well in terms of supporting each other. And I know already there's other people have connected up separately away from the circle. So we just watch this space really to see how we... The big challenge for us is because we've got three very strong leaders and we all like to take the front stage. And we're sharing. So we have to do it quite explicitly. That's your bit, that's my bit, else we just take over. So I'm going to hand back to Lorraine. Lorraine's going to sort of call on the floor. You've got some people primed to give some lessons.
So thanks, Curtis, for that. That was very interesting. So I was speaking to a few different people in the room are in circles. So those people that are in circles, those are the ones I want to hear from now. I'm looking at Jane, who's in the senior executive circle, and then we'll stand up and comment later. So Jane, you joined the senior executive circle. What do you find that the number one key for that is? I know you've really been to a few meetings too.
I suppose, for me, it was certainly to do with the sort of safe space and environment that is there to allow you to voice things that you're not sure about, that you're concerned about, especially in a certain sort of line of work that you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable talking about within the workplace because you may not have that support available, or you may be conscious to voice an opinion that may negatively impact on how people see you, and that could affect your career or your steps. So it creates that space where there is a lot of experience and a lot of advice and support that you can listen and you can voice your concerns and you can listen back and you can give examples and that remains confidential and that trust is there. So for me that was very, very important, especially in my line of work where a lot of the time people who are more senior are male and sometimes there are issues that men have, or women have very specific issues as well in the workplace that men wouldn't be used to, and it's addressing some of those and how we can manage those as well. So
Thank you, Jane. Jennifer's turned her name, she's not going to be asked something.
No, I was
So there's quite a lot of finance and NI folk here, just a good cafe. And Jennifer, so it was just, why did you join the finance and NI circle? What was your main motivation for joining it?
well, until very recently, I didn't know anything about Lean In. Didn't know that there was a circle. I didn't know anything about it. And I think probably to refer to what Jane said, finance, certainly in Northern Ireland, is still very male dominated, and to meet other women that work in the same industry and just share with them, that was the main crux of it.
And I know there's a few over here at the side, Queen's, Alexandra. So everyone, this is Alexandra. She's started the Lean In along with Maria. They've started a Lean In circle in Queen's. Alexander, do you want to maybe get up or sit and just tell everyone sort of what the main focus of that is? Is it with students or is it with faculty, or how do you find that? I know that the girls here had mentioned about the junior circle, so do we see that splitting off at one stage or anything?
So I think the impetus for the circle came from a lack of confidence that Maria and I felt as we were considering transitioning from student to working. And so we wanted to create that safe space where you can talk about those insecurities, because that can certainly be perceived as a weakness. And also we wanted to connect with women in our field to show that the path isn't always, it can be complicated, there can be challenges, but you can overcome them. So that was our model for the circle. Did you want to add?
We found that when we started talking to our professors, they were very supportive. We had a flood of support, and we had like a cutoff point. We couldn't hold as many events. We stuck to once a month, and we have new members here today. And so it's kind of a legacy now, so we're still going to be active in the circle, obviously, and we had a lot of support from our professors, academia. We had a lot of partners from firms come and speak to us. We had barristers, we had judges. So
it was overwhelming.
It was overwhelming. So
That sounds fantastic, actually. So you girls might be finishing with your circle, might need to find a new one then, whenever.
Oh, we passed it on actually, so it's going to continue.
Very, very good. So we are going to do a bit of a networking game. Do you read the questions?
yeah.
But then we're going to do a few of these questions. Maybe before we do that, maybe I know there's a lot of people here that are not in a circle at the minute. I'm just going to point out a few leaders. So Glenda Nelson, Glenda's going to stand up. So Glenda is the leader of the Senior Executives Circle. So what's the criteria? Who will you check?
We're not really fussy, but we sort of say that it's for ladies who have people who have had 15 plus years in their career. We've got to a point now where they're at senior level, and it's that peer support that they need, because it's kind of lonely when you get up there.
Very good, very good. And then we also have Kathy Brennan.
Yeah.
So,
Evening.
Kathy is in the Women in Finance NI, so
Yeah.
So Kathy, who do you want to check?
Originally I work in financial services, and like Jennifer said, I've been in the sector for 20 years, and it is quite lonely. You're one of 3 women going along to the same events with a sea of men's jackets, and men in the jackets. I just thought, I'm really committed to staying in this sector, and I want it to be better for all women. But we set up the circle, and we have tax advisors, accountants, financial advisors, mortgage advisors. Everyone has come along. So yeah. So I think at our next, I had attended this event, and I have 3 young children, 6.5, 2 6.5-year-olds and a 4-year-old. And the 45 minutes that they go into the pool on a Monday evening, I've delegated that task tonight so I can stay the whole event. But the 45 minutes that they were in the pool, I thought, right, I'm going to start a circle. And it was a session that Lisa had hosted, and one of her contacts had come in through a Skype call, and he said, do you enjoy hosting events or do you like attending them? And I thought, I want to host this. Because like you, I've attended events, and that went on maybe about 9 months of attending things. And I thought, just need to kick this off and get it started, So anyone in the finance sector, says financial services, but I think you've opened it up to empowering women in finance.
Yeah.
So broad brush.
And then also Sinead at the back. And Sinead, you're the entrepreneur circle?
Yes, so mine's the circle that Joe avoided. I have noted that down, and we're going to be throwing you out. So I started the circle because When I started my own business, I had no friends that ran businesses, and I was like, I want some friends, basically, that get what it's all about, especially for women, because, you know, we all juggle a lot of stuff, but starting your own business, I have found us taking that juggling to a whole other level. So started it off, and we have monthly small get-togethers, but there's actually over 200 people in the circle now. I know there are only supposed to be 12, but you get different people come along. Orla comes to the meetings. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else. So we have small meetings, and if we have a large group turns up, we just split it into smaller groups so that you can still get the interaction. And we're having our first big event on the 6th of June, which will be here.
That's your revenge, because I'm speaking, so that's your revenge.
So Joe's going to be doing, what's your section called?
Doing good is good for business. So it's about your well-being and your business isn't any different from who you are as a person.
Yeah, so the whole event is about getting balance in your business. So you're welcome to sign up for that, and I'm sure you'll get plenty out of it, even if you don't run your own businesses. And anyone can join that's a business owner, self-employed, or thinking about starting a business, because we can help you with those decisions as well.
So that's just a bit of a small mix, but there's, you know, as I said, there's 27 circles now in Belfast, so if there's not one for you, just set one up. So
It doesn't have to be in Belfast.
it doesn't have to be in Belfast, but no. Just check out the website. There is, even though Joe seems to be helping finding everything, but if you just go on to Belfast, you just Google Belfast Lean In, like it comes up and you can see all the different types of things, log in and have a look around. So
The website's great. It's sending out emails to the group is where it clunked.
Yes,
So the
yeah.
website
There's
is
no
right.
notifications.
The
There's
website.
It's not just us then.
This
Miss Nula, you may talk.
The website's great.
The website is being completely overhauled by the foundation, so they're investing a lot in that for the rest of the year, and it's going to be user-friendly, GDPR compliant. It's going to support all the different circles.
So it's in there, but it's the framework is wrong, not the content.
So is it the norm within a circle leader?
Yeah.
You go off east and settle Facebook
Yeah,
and WhatsApp
yeah, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, but you don't want people travelling away from. But anyway, I'm not going to say.
What about Orla's circle, your coffee?
Yeah, I literally started one about a month ago. It's Women in Coffee, because I have a coffee shop and a roastery, and I just feel like the coffee community here, I personally don't find it very supportive. I hope that's confidential. So I just feel like if I got the support, I suppose, that I got from Lean in Belfast when I opened 5 years ago, my business would have gone way quicker and way better. So I kind of gone off of that back. But it's obviously an open door for people who just like coffee, or I don't know, everyone. But it is that kind of thing where, right, how do I set up a Facebook page, how do I keep engagement? Do I post every day? What do I post about? What's relevant to us? What do people, that kind of thing that'll work out. But it is a bit like, it's quite scary.
It is.
Not necessary. I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody on Twitter directed me
Oh, seriously?
already, so it's working. The lean in bit is like, oh, I have to go there and have coffee.
Do a wine one.
Yeah.
Victoria.
Yes, Victoria, the TAC, isn't it?
Yeah, so women who work in technology and any part of tech don't have to code. But yeah, we've been going a year and a half now.
That's great. And Lisa's voucher in the back.
So I have a circle that's kind of set up, but it's not, it doesn't have a huge number of members yet, and it's to do with security really. It's lean in military and ex-military spouses, and I just have a real passion for women who support their guys going off in the military, whatever that is, or have to move country, have to change job, have to give up their careers, as a chapter in and of itself, and I'm working with various groups of people to see how we can set up virtual circles in a safe and secure way where the spouses don't feel vulnerable about putting their information online, because it's a learned behaviour and it's a trained kind of mindset around that. So if you know anyone who is a military spouse or was a military spouse, quite often they're isolated, they struggle. I myself returned here after over 20 years living away. Was a military spouse, tried to pursue my career alongside that. So I have a bit of experience in that. So if you know anyone and you want to connect in with me, you can do it through In Belfast or at Elstrut on Twitter. Send me a direct message. I don't really do Facebook. Sorry, I'm not a millennial.